You know what billionaires are buying? Gold, Bitcoin, real estate, stocks. Everyone knows this. Financial media covers it obsessively. Gold hits $4,000 per ounce, and every outlet reports that hedge funds are accumulating. Bitcoin approaches $100,000, and the narrative is that the ultra-wealthy are diversifying into crypto. Real estate markets surge, and we're told billionaires are snapping up properties. This is the public narrative, the mainstream story. The assets everyone talks about, everyone analyzes, everyone thinks they understand. But here's what they don't tell you. While financial media obsesses over gold and Bitcoin, while retail investors chase the same assets billionaires bought 5 years ago, the ultra-wealthy have already moved on. They're accumulating 3 assets you've probably never heard of. Assets so obscure that most financial advisors couldn't explain them. Assets so essential that they'll become more valuable than gold when the system breaks. And they're doing it quietly. No press releases, no CNBC interviews, no tweets. Just systematic, relentless accumulation through shell companies, private transactions, and legal structures designed to hide ownership. I'm going to show you exactly what these 3 assets are, why billionaires are accumulating them right now in 2025, and, most importantly, how you can get exposure to the same assets without needing $1 billion. Because this isn't about copying what rich people do. It's about understanding where real value concentrates when currencies fail, when supply chains break, when the financial system that sustained us for 80 years finally cracks. Let me start with the first asset. And this one will surprise you because it sounds boring. But boring is exactly what makes it valuable. The first asset billionaires are buying is farmland. Not just any farmland. Specific farmland in specific regions, with specific characteristics that most people don't understand. And the person who's accumulated more of this asset than anyone else in America is someone you know very well. Bill Gates. As of 2025, Bill Gates owns approximately 275,000 acres of farmland across the United States. That's not a typo. 275,000 acres. To put that in perspective, that's 430 square miles of farmland. That's larger than the entire city of Los Angeles. It's roughly the size of Hong Kong. One man, through his investment firm Cascade Investment, owns more private farmland than anyone else in America. He's been accumulating it systematically since 2013. But here's what makes this interesting. Gates isn't just buying random farmland. He's buying very specific types of land in very specific locations. And if you understand what he's buying and why, you understand what smart money knows about the next 20 years. Let me show you the pattern. Gates' largest single-state holding is in Louisiana. 69,071 acres concentrated across multiple parishes, not random Louisiana land, farmland in the Mississippi River Delta. Why? Because that region has 3 characteristics that make it irreplaceable. First, soil quality. The Mississippi Delta has some of the richest topsoil in North America, deposited over millennia by river flooding. This isn't land you can recreate. Second, water access. The land sits on massive aquifers and has unlimited river water access. When water becomes scarce everywhere else, this land has guaranteed irrigation. Third, growing season. Louisiana has one of the longest growing seasons in America. Some of this land produces 2 full crop cycles per year. This isn't about growing food today. It's about controlling food production capacity when climate changes reduce farmland elsewhere. Gates' second largest holding is in Arkansas, 927 acres. Again, not random. This is rice and soybean country with direct access to the Arkansas River and the largest rice-growing region in North America. Water-intensive crops in a region with guaranteed water supply. Spotting the pattern yet? The third major concentration is in Nebraska, farmland directly above the Ogallala Aquifer, the largest underground water reserve in North America. This aquifer supplies water to 8 states, but it's being depleted rapidly in most regions. Gates bought land in the area where the aquifer is deepest and recharge rates are highest. Guaranteed irrigation for the next 100 years. Washington State, 16,097 acres, most of it in the Columbia River Basin. Perfect climate for wheat, potatoes, and fruit. Unlimited water from the Columbia River system. And infrastructure for shipping crops to Asia via West Coast ports. Florida, 828 acres. Citrus, vegetables, and cattle. Year-round growing season. Again, aquifer access. Every single purchase follows the same pattern. Highly productive farmland with 3 critical characteristics. 1, superior soil quality that can't be replicated. 2, guaranteed long-term water access from rivers or deep aquifers. 3, climate conditions that support multiple growing seasons or premium crops. Gates isn't buying land to farm it today. He's buying the capacity to control food production when global food systems break down. And here's where it gets more interesting. Gates is still actively acquiring. In June 2025, his investment company bought another 8,080 acres in Benton County, Washington for $131.4 million. That's $16,000 per acre. For context, average farmland in America sells for $3,000 to $4,000 per acre. Gates paid 4 times the national average. Why? Because the land he bought sits in the Horse Heaven Hills region. Crop circles with pivot irrigation systems already installed, direct aquifer access, perfect climate. And most critically, mineral rights and water rights included in the purchase. That last part is key. Which brings me to the second asset billionaires are accumulating. Water rights, not water itself. The legal right to extract and use water. And this might be the most valuable asset class of the 21st century. Let me explain how water rights work, because most people don't understand this. In the western United States, water rights are separate from land ownership. You can own 1,000 acres of land, but have no legal right to use the water underneath it or flowing through it. Water rights in most western states are allocated through a system called prior appropriation. First in time, first in right. Whoever claimed the water rights first, usually ranchers and farmers in the 1800s, has senior rights. In times of scarcity, senior rights holders get their full allocation first. Junior rights holders get whatever's left, which is often nothing. Now here's where it becomes valuable. Water rights can be bought, sold, and transferred separately from the land. If you own senior water rights in a region where water is becoming scarce, you're sitting on a gold mine. Because every city, every developer, every farmer needs water. And when supply is limited, whoever controls the rights controls the price. Billionaires figured this out 20 years ago, and they have been quietly accumulating water rights ever since. The most famous example is T. Boone Pickens, the Texas billionaire who made his fortune in oil. In the 1990s, Pickens started buying land in the Texas Panhandle. Not for the land, for the water underneath. The land sat above the Ogallala Aquifer. Pickens assembled water rights to extract 65 billion gallons per year. That's enough water to supply a city of 1 million people. In 2011, he sold a portion of those water rights to 11 Texas cities, including Amarillo and Lubbock, for $103 million. Not the land, not the water itself, just the legal right to pump water. That's $1.58 per 1,000 gallons. Compare that to what cities pay for water from traditional sources. Pennies per 1,000 gallons. Pickens made a 10x return by simply controlling access. And he still owns the majority of his water rights. They're currently valued at over $500 million, but Pickens isn't alone. There's now an entire industry of Wall Street firms buying water rights across the American West. Water Asset Management, a New York-based investment firm, has been systematically buying farmland in Colorado, specifically for the water rights. They've acquired over 2,500 acres of farmland along the Colorado River. The land itself is worth maybe $50 million, but the senior water rights attached to that land are valued at over $300 million. The firm's president said explicitly in a 2022 interview that their strategy is to profit from water scarcity. They buy land with senior water rights, make the farms more efficient so they use less water, and then sell the excess water rights to cities and developers desperate for water. It's water arbitrage, and it's completely legal. In California, the Resnick family has taken this to another level. Stuart and Linda Resnick own the wonderful company. Pistachios, pomegranate juice, mandarins, you've bought their products. But that's not where their wealth comes from. It comes from water. In the 1990s, the Resnicks began buying farmland in California's Central Valley. Tens of thousands of acres. With the land came water rights. But they didn't stop there. In 1994, California held a series of meetings about water management. The Resnicks were there. Most cities weren't paying attention. Those meetings resulted in new regulations that allowed private entities to control water banking. Water banks are state-built facilities that store water during wet years and release it during droughts. They were built with taxpayer money. But the new regulations allowed private companies to control who gets the stored water and at what price. The Resnicks acquired control of the Kern Water Bank, the largest water storage facility in California. Capacity of 1.5 million acre-feet. That's about 500 billion gallons. During droughts, which are now frequent in California, the Resnicks sell water from the bank to other farmers in cities at massive markups. They've made billions, not by producing anything, but by controlling access to water that was stored in public infrastructure. And they're not the only ones. In 2021, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints bought 2,500 acres of farmland in Washington state for over $200 million. They outbid Bill Gates' company in an auction. Why would the Mormon Church spend $200 million on farmland in eastern Washington? Water rights. That land comes with senior water rights on the Columbia River system. Guaranteed water forever. The church now ranks as one of the largest agricultural landowners in the western United States. Not for the crops, but for the water access. And it gets more aggressive. In 2021, a Wall Street-backed company called Crown Columbia Water Resources filed an application with Washington state to acquire private water rights throughout the Columbia River watershed. Their plan was to buy water rights from farmers, bank them with the state, and then lease or sell that water to cities and developers. It would have been the largest private